This holiday season, we all wish for hope and healing. Children and families who spend their holidays at the hospital deserve a reason to believe in first steps, in giggles, high fives, and hugs. For 150 years, Children's National Hospital has provided world-class care and groundbreaking research. Please donate today to help patients and healthcare heroes this holiday season. Visit childrensnational.org/holiday. That's childrensnational.org/holiday.
Show with published authors, writers, and content creators discussing both the creative and technical sides of writing, as well as the industry surrounding it, from novels to screenplays to comics and more. And now, here's your host, author Travis I. Sivart.
Well, thank you, Cogsley. And good evening. I almost said morning. I don't know where the hell my head is out. John, how are you? Tonight on Right Night, and by the way, it is April 4th, 2020, so 442020. You're a numbers person. And there's Princess Shara saying hello, dropping in. We are going to talk about genre jumping and initiate hazing. Or I guess it could be read as initiate hazing. Either way. I am Travis Sivart. I'm your host. I'm the author. Actually, you know what I want to talk about today? Tara, right there in the center of your guys' screen, is the editor of my latest book, Silver and Smith and the Jazir's Light, and she has returned it to me. I have begun doing the cleanup from her edits, as well as making a few other changes that I've discussed with a few beta readers. But I also cleaned up the first 10 pages, and sent it to an agent. Which, by the way, let me say, for any agents out there, do not put 10 pages ever again. Ever again. Please give me a word count, because depending on my spacing, my font size, etc., what? You're a professional. Give me a word count.
2,500 words.
No, well, maybe. And hello, everybody. Spacey, let me go around, and we're going to just go clockwise as I normally do. So directly above me there is Aaron Kennedy. Tell him a little bit about yourself and what prizes they've won, sir.
All right. I'm Aaron Kennedy. I'm the author of the Ships of Valor series. I've been a technical writer for 25 some odd years, currently working on my PhD and writing articles that are related to that. Right now it's going to be on the military general orders and their leadership and implications.
Implicating our leaders.
Them too.
Okay, very good. And in the center of the screen, we do have Tara. And Tara, you're just a little bit low in visual. If you could drop your camera just about an inch, not too much. That's good. There you go. That's more centered up.
Right.
Tell them who you are and what you do and why you're here.
All right, my name is Tara Moeller. I am the Dreamer-in-Chief at Dreampunk Press. And this is our latest pub, Waiting for Normal by Zara Johns. It's a teen contemporary about a young girl who is diagnosed with cancer, and during the treatment, it's the whole waiting for life to get back to normal. So it kind of explores some of those themes and some of the issues there. And it is live since Wednesday, and there are 10 author-signed copies waiting for the first 10 folks to buy it at dreampunkpress.com.
It also feels like it can relate a lot to the current world in a weird way.
Possibly, yes.
So there's something, guys. Now, in the upper right-hand corner of everybody's screen, we have the awesome, incredible, and delightful Michael Thompson.
Hello, everyone. My name's Michael Thompson. I'm an author of fantasy and superhero books, and one of my books is Winslow Hoffner's Incredible Encounters. It's a folkloric fantasy on the high seas about cryptids, sea monsters, and epic urban legends that few have beheld, but there's one man who's seen them all. I just released the ebook version of this book not too long ago, and I'd like to thank the viewers here, because this is the only place where I've been mentioning stuff recently. I haven't done a whole lot of marketing, and I've been seeing the sales go up digitally for the first time in a long time. So thank you so much.
That is incredible, Michael. I am thrilled to hear that. And guys, don't forget, if you are picking up any of the authors' work here, make sure you go throw them a review. Amazon is always a great place to do it. You can give reviews even if you didn't purchase it at that place. You can throw it on Goodreads, you can throw it on Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, wherever you want, or all of them. And copy paste the same review. Put in all of them if you want. It just helps us a lot. It's like giving us a tip after enjoying the book. Okay? Help us out. Now, let's pop down to the lower right corner because she is a little low and always right. We have Tempe.
Hi, I'm Tempe Wade. I am the author of the Timely Revolution book series, a continuous time travel adventure series based during the Revolutionary War. Books 1 through 4 are currently out. Book 1 is actually on sale for 99 cents on Amazon. I lowered the price during all of our stay-at-home time. Books 1 through 4 are out. 5 and 6 are coming, and so are 7, 8, and 9.
Awesome.
Woohoo!
Tempe, do me a favor. Tap your mic or rub your mic for me. You'll need to switch that to the other microphone, please.
Okay.
I know you know how to do that. Sorry we didn't do that before the show. Now, just so everybody knows, if you're listening to this in one of the 8 or so places we put the podcast up, don't forget you can always join us live every Saturday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Well, Eastern Time. Let's just go with Eastern. And that's at twitch.tv/Travis Tavern Talk. Now, for those of you joining us live, don't forget any of the live broadcasts we have. Thank you, Tracy. Appreciate that. In the structured shows, you can pick them up on... Just look below the screen. You'll see all the podcasting stuff. Other than that, thank you guys for showing up, which is the most important way to support us. It's showing up. It's spreading the word. It's bringing your friends. Much as we love to have that book sale or that subscription or Patreon, whatever, showing up first and foremost, so important. Just please keep 6 feet away. That's all I can say right now. It's I have stories. Really, even when the world isn't going crazy, please stay 6 feet away. There is no reason you need to be much closer than that to me, ever. Unless we're going to make out or whisper secrets to each other.
No.
Yeah. Or maybe both. So tonight's topics, Tempe, I'm going to pick on you. You comfortable with that?
Yes, is my mic better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to pick on Tempe because both the topics for our first hour, creative hour, and our second hour, the technical hour, were inspired by Tempe. Because as I've pointed out, Tempe is actually the newest writer amongst us. Perhaps, especially if we do the word count over the amount of time, probably the most prolific amongst us. And probably doing as well, if not better, sales-wise than a lot of us. But she's still the newest. So there's a reason I have all these different people, so we have different points of views, different level of experience in different areas. And Tempe's asked a few questions. Now, for the first one, the first half, the creative hour, we're going to talk about genre jumping, which is something near and dear to my heart. And first thing I'll tell you is, whether you're an actor, whether you're a writer, whether you're a restaurant, or whatever, people say brand yourself. Choose the thing you're good at. Now, for writers, that's pick a genre. If Stephen King suddenly put out a romance novel, a lot of people be like, what the? I don't know what just happened. And they go nuts. They go crazy. It's horrible. Their world is wrecked. Just like if Metallica put out a K-pop album. Okay? It's just, how dare they? That's wrong.
I have 2 of them, sir.
My bad. I'm out of the loop. So what I want to do is go around and talk about what genres we have written. And I'm going to start with Tempe and then go to Aaron, and then we'll go to the others because I kind of know how the trickle down goes. So we're going to kind of start narrow and go wide. Tempe, what genres have you written in?
Okay, the Timely Revolution book series is actually a combination. It's a combination of historical fiction and fantasy. So I've kind of got my foot in both doors anyway.
There's no of romance,
there's good.
Right?
There's romance in it as well. So it's kind of a mixture. It's a lot of Celtic lore. It's a mixture of everything. So I've kind of got my foot in several doors already. And we'll get to it later. But where we're talking about, I was looking at streamlining some offshoots. Is what I've been working on doing.
Oh,
Now,
that's even hearing that. That's cool. Aaron, go on.
Now, and I apologize, I have not had a chance to read yours yet. Now, when you say it's got romance in it, it's romance as a theme, not romance as a genre. We're not talking sweaty man on cover, freaking shirtless.
Well,
romance.
you could.
well, let's bump up those sales.
No,
There's a lot of it in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, from some of the people I talk to, I think it's more of a perception, Aaron, for her book. I've had some people say, this is a romance novel.
Okay.
With historical context and a time travel thrown in. So I think it depends on right what direction you're reading from. And as Tempe has said, she's had a lot of men read and enjoy the book because the historical context. So I think they're reading the same book from a different perspective.
And I will say, I never started out to write a romance with this.
You don't have to lie to us.
Romance is an element, and especially in book 2 and throughout all of it, but it's not how it started out. It started out as historical kind of fiction fantasy thing, and this just happened to be a part of it because it's like real life. So,
and I did write down a note of something I think we'll have fun talking about is trying to pick what genre your damn book falls into when you're listing it somewhere. Oh, God. And we're going to come back to look at everybody just go, oh. So yes, everybody's head drop dipped and wobbled like a bobblehead. Aaron, genres you've written in, sir.
Okay, my primary fiction genre would be it's pulp, but it's loosely military sci-fi.
By the way, a little love for pulp, just fun, quick, good.
And that's exactly why I did it. I've also written in the urban sci-fi category or urban fantasy realm, and then high fantasy. I've got a few things out there in that, and then of course all my technical writing stuff,
right?
Which is just a completely different vein.
Is there genre differentiations in technical writing?
Oh,
Tara,
yeah.
And Tara, you can sing along with this song, please. Go ahead. So, like, what genres can you name? Like 3 big ones.
Oh, shoot. You've got opinion pieces, which is where I kind of sway into, or editorials.
Right.
And then we get into the hard technical writing, which is manuals and then everything kind of in between.
Okay.
But Tara can definitely go into much more detail than I can on that.
And Tara, when we get to you, please go ahead and just, give a little peck at that to educate me.
Okay.
Because that's a beauty. I love that we all know different things. That we're not on the same level in all the places. Some places but I just love the fact that I have you guys here who can teach me something too. Aaron, did you have anything more? You good?
No. I'm good here.
Okay. And Tempe, I totally didn't ask if you had anything more. Were you finished? I apologize.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Now, who should go next? Michael or Tara? Because I know I think Tara's written more. You know what, Michael? Let's go with you.
Okay. Let's see. Each of my books kind of has like 2 or 3 categories. Kind of intersectional. Chicken Boy is a superhero book, so I kind of call that a genre. I don't know if it is. It's action adventure and it's humor. And
now that'd be considered middle grade, right? Or not?
Middle for the age group, it's middle grade.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 9 to 12. For World of the Orb, young adult is kind of like a genre, even though it's an age group. But it's young adult. Portal fantasy is the term I became familiar with and I liked using for marketing purposes. Yeah.
Because
you know that?
I'll touch on that in a minute. Go ahead.
Use that for portals. It's
that
fantasy
for a lot
where,
of stuff, dude.
Yeah, it's a type of genre where real world characters encounter alternate world.
Got a little wood.
It could also be called like secondary world. And then Winslow was a unique one. I think I mentioned last show that I had to kind of come up with a new genre to kind of market for it. I called it folkloric fantasy. But it's kind of, in terms of the existing genres, urban fantasy is something that comes up a lot. So whereas portal fantasy is real world characters in an alternate space, urban fantasy is fantasy elements woven into or hidden within the real world. So that's kind of where Winslow falls. But at the same time, that it tends to be like werewolves and stuff for urban fantasy, like those more classic things, more classic monsters. But yeah, those are my categories. I've done a fair bit of genre jumping.
Tara.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we all know that I write Victorian and steampunk as E.G. Gaddis, and that's a YA, so young adult for teens. And then I also write under my own name, and I have a whole bunch of stuff out under my real name. Some novellas that span from slightly mythical, which is The Sacrifice. Then there's The Desolation of Fog, which is slightly spiritual, religious, metaphysical, weird. I have some romantic sci-fi that I've written for anthologies, and that What Happens on Destiny 2 will be a free download from dreampunkpress.com next week. So I've written in a lot of different genres. Let me touch on the whole technical editing, different genres that you asked me to do. You have technical manuals, technical reports, you have technical articles, and then within that, a medical article is technical, vice an engineering article that is technical, vice even a marketing article can be technical, and yet it's on what people would not think to be a technical realm, but if you're talking the technical aspects of marketing, that's another subgenre within there. And you can have everything from a recipe to the instructions on how to put a cabinet together. Those are technical writing. So, I mean, it spans everything. So, and if you want to talk the difficulty of genres, try going into Bowker's and my identifiers and then trying to figure out where your book goes.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Everything from age 0 to age 19 is all children's literature.
Yeah.
In Bowker's. So while out in the real world, it's broken up from early readers to early chapter books to middle grade to younger YA to to older YA, and then even into the new adult with all the different subgenres in there. In some ways the business hasn't adapted to that yet, and it can make it really hard.
Oh yeah, it's one of those friggin' we're looking at when we group by demographic, we got target audience, which is not really a genre, it's just a target audience. Because going back to like the comic books and things like that, that is a target audience, but they've got all genres throughout that. The Fantastic Four is a completely different book than the X-Men, which is a completely different book than the Punisher. And even Wolverine was a completely different tone than the X-Men books. But they're all got the same target demographic.
Do they, though? Do you think Punisher is the same as Archie?
At the time, yes.
No, never.
Now
Never.
It's spread out a lot more now, but
It is definitely. And here's what I'm going to tell you about genres, and then I'm going to talk about my stuff here. Genres are subjective, and they change as the times change. And what I will tell you about life is we go too detailed and then we consolidate as a society, as a species. We spread it out and try to micro-categorize, realize there's too many damn things to even wrap our heads around anymore. Simplify that crap. And this is what we see happening now. We're on the micro expansion right now where we're hyper detailing things, and it will come back together. Princess Shiara has a comment here. Says, I agree with Tara. It took me a while to see exactly how I would categorize after I started the process. Still surprising when you end up finding the genre you didn't think you'd write for. The genres I've written for have been, to go with the basic ones, I've done sci-fi, fantasy, horror. To get a little more specific, I have done steampunk, cyberpunk, dystopian, no utopian, apocalyptic. I have done speculative fiction. I have done urban fiction.
For 150 years, Children's National Hospital has provided exceptional care and groundbreaking research. Please donate today to give children and healthcare heroes a reason to believe this holiday season. Visit childrensnational.org/holiday.
'Tis the season for those irresistible ginger thins, cozy blankets for cuddling by the fire, and making home warm and welcoming. For one-stop holiday shopping, visit your local IKEA or ikea-usa.com/holiday.
Fantasy, I have done, and so on, and so on, and so on. And I can say I have done children's, I have done middle grade, I have done young adult. Again, it depends where you're pulling from and whatnot. And I can throw my stuff to 3 different publishing houses, and they might all categorize it differently. The thing you said about portal fantasy, Michael, this is what I've been reading since my teen. It seemed like every time I picked up a new author, it had portals, and I didn't realize this. I didn't seek it out. It's just what it came to me. It was sent to me by whatever power. And
Yeah.
It's a concept I have been fascinated with. And when the internet first came into normal people's hands, it's one of the first things I started looking for. And nobody seemed to know, not just in fantasy, but the actual scientific study, which study the Large Hadron Collider. Matter of fact, you'll see that commentary come up in Silver and Smith. Secondary world, I'm glad you said that, because as I was researching agents this afternoon, I heard that term, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Just like people like, oh,
Alice in Wonderland.
It's secondary world. Okay. Yeah, it's, yeah. So,
I think at least, it's at least something that involves building a new world. But I know Portal Fantasy is taking characters from our world and putting it in a new world.
It's and it's a matter of, if I can again ramble on for another moment here, guys. Here's what I'll tell you about specialized genres. People might go, well, not that many people are looking for that. No, not as many people are searching that term, that genre, as they are, let's say, fantasy or horror, the broad spectrum, science fiction. But you have a very niche, hungry, devoted following in those smaller genres. So you're basically like, well, do you want to throw your fishing line in the middle of the ocean and hope for something, or do you want to go to a pond where you're only going to catch one kind of fish, but you know you're going to catch something? And there's your choices. Yeah, you have a larger chance of a bigger fish in the ocean, but do you want to be guaranteed to eat, or do you want to maybe get the big one? And that's... Go ahead.
Well, that's one of the reasons, like, if you're looking at Amazon, you'll have 3 different listings on there. And depending on what you're doing, you want to get those rankings up as high as possible on each of your listings. Just using a friend of mine's book as an example, he's got fleet science fiction, space marine science fiction, space opera science fiction, and he's like 24, 20, and 29 across those 3 things. But on the bestseller ranks across the board, he's like 4305. Now, that's a lot of numbers, but what he's trying to do is get as high on rankings in each of the genres that he's picked.
That's true.
And it's not necessarily what you think it is, it's what you think is marketable, because this is a business decision on this side. It's creative of what you're going to write, because you're trying to write to trope and things like that. But in reality, we're trying to sell books. And you got to pick the right category to sell your book. And if it's romance, in Tempe's case, historical fiction, romance is going to get her a lot of the women and people that like that side. Historical fiction, that's going to be a completely different demographic with that Venn diagram of we want it big, yeah, there's going to be overlap, but we want that as big of a pond as possible with, as you said, Travis, the best hit rate inside that pond.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's great about the Amazon categories is that you can pick up to 10 per book, per format of book. So like Tempe, you've got lots of different genre types within the same thing.
Right.
I think a category in Amazon is time travel.
It is.
So you grab that.
When did it change to 10? As of like last October, it was 2.
3. I think it was 3 last time I was in
10,
there.
but you have to call. The only way to do it is to call.
Ah, I did not know that.
Okay.
For yourself, if you're doing it yourself, you get 2. If you call them, they can add up to 10.
I did not know that. And see, because I always wondered, how are the people getting these off the wall?
Yeah,
listings.
Or
I'm
you
like,
can write by email.
Okay.
But you have to. What you have to do is the path, and I can tell you more about that later.
Yeah, let's pull that aside for a later point. What I'm going to go back to Aaron's Venn diagram. If you guys are picking genres, allow me to suggest, and then you can tell me how it works out. Go and choose a very specific genre. If you're just doing the 2 or 3 that Amazon allows, and you're not going this other way that I really want to know about, choose a broad spectrum one, a wide audience one, and choose a smaller, very focused audience one. I would think logically that's going to give you the best give and take and balance. Go ahead.
You also want something that are different as well.
Yes.
So using your thing and just my own book as an example, on my physical copy of the book, I've got literature and science fiction. Those are my big picture ones. But on the Kindle edition, it shows up as military sci-fi and space opera.
Yeah,
are the two much more tailored sides, to your point.
Yeah, Kindle has its own categories, and they tend to be more focused.
They no longer have their own categories because Kindle and CreateSpace, the 2 Amazon things, are one now.
But they're treated as 2 separate books. I mean, I'm literally pulling it off their Amazon site right now.
Actually, no, you are correct, because you go in and do one, then the other, and you... now, how it used to be, I haven't done one since, or else if I did do one since they combined, it was September, October of last year. But you would choose 2 categories in each. But we're not going to worry about that, because there's a lot more than just Amazon. Let's back it away from those specifics to the actual generalized topic, because Tempe is exploring writing in what she feels is a different genre. Now, of course, there's bleed over, as she has pointed out. Let me ask you directly, just out of my curiosity, not necessarily to create a tangent out of this. Tempe, is this kind of a offshoot or a spin-off of your current series?
completely separate, completely different.
Is there
Has nothing
any way
to do
the 2 worlds are going to tie together down the road? Okay.
No,
the reason I
not
ask
on
is
this.
it doesn't matter if it does, but some readers really love it. And with because Portals is something that's in yours. No spoilers, sorry. I hopefully that's not too much to give away to people.
I'm only like 10 pages in. Hang on.
But there's promise. And you've insinuated things in the characters in the story that I've already read, and I like what I'm seeing here. And portals do fall in there. I mean, you use that word.
I did.
So with something like that, it is quite possible, considering you have the Fae and the Celtic lore and then portals. So now we've discussed what we have here as genres that we've done. Now, Tara, I'm going to start with you if you don't mind. Oh, what is I was saying, by the way? Branding. And hello, Kilkenny, good to see you. It's been a while. Pardon us while we talk about Right Night and the topics that we have. If you have any questions or any comments regarding the topic, please feel free to shout those out there, and I'll read off the chat. I do have a bell here I usually ding. Sometimes I just interrupt when it's my turn. So, branding. A smart restaurant specializes. You know if you're going to get burgers or seafood or specifically sushi, or if you're a heavy metal band, you're not going to put out some country tunes and all this. And they recommend this for writers also. Write in one
Cheesecake
genre.
Factory.
What's that?
Cheesecake Factory.
Hey.
So, and they say this is smart branding. I am a moron brander because I love different genres. I don't want to write in one. Now, I've broken it up into certain pen names for my children's books, for my adult humor, and for pretty much everything else. And I did this so somebody, and it's no secret what my pen names are, but I did this so somebody doesn't buy a children's book, go, this is great, get another one of these books for my kid. And they pick up my apocalyptic fantasy that has zombies and demons and very bad things.
Yeah, you're going back to that. I talked to you guys before about I've done a romance. I've been working on some romance stuff. That is tied back into the original series.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to do some stuff that goes back into it. But this new thing is something totally off the wall. It's totally new for me. So that's why I kind of got you guys to look at it and say, hey, what do you think?
So what are your fears here, Tempe? What was it you were trying to get us to help you with by showing it to us?
I've never been a huge fantasy reader. I'm starting to get more into it, mostly because I've been at home and there's a lot of fantasy stuff out there now.
You've been watching Henry Cavill.
Netflix.
We know.
You know I'm going to watch Henry Cavill no matter what he's in. Now that I know who he is.
You gotta get Henry Cavill on the show.
Oh man, I'm telling you, if anybody knows Henry Cavill, I need an introduction. And for the people who are out there who don't know, who the others have heard me say this, I had no idea who this man was, that he was Superman, until I watched The Witcher and looked him up. I had no idea who he was.
And a lot more than just Superman. He's actually done quite an array of things and quite a selection of things. What's that, Aaron?
But I didn't know who he was.
Oh, Mission Impossible. He was one of the villains.
Yes, that was on today, actually. So, yeah.
You got the whole collection.
I'm the only person in the world who did not know who this man was. I'm telling you, it's crazy. But since I've been watching more fantasy stuff, because that's what's basically on Netflix, since we've been stuck inside, that's kind of got me curious to exploring something a little bit different now. And it looks like that's what people enjoy. You know, they like the more that fantasy involved in something, the more they enjoy it. So I figured I'd give it a shot. Got nothing else to do, so.
Very good. So, what are your fears and concerns? Why aren't you just jumping in both feet first into a new genre? What are you worried about? And I ask this so we can address that and support that and tell you it'll be okay. Go do that.
Well, again, I've never been a huge fantasy reader. Not in the way, like the type of stuff like The Witcher, the stuff, you know, the real different fantasy world type things. And so it's all new to me. So I'm not even sure what's out there. I may be writing something that's already out there. I don't know. So I'm just trying to kind of get a feel for, you know, if I'm even going in the right direction here.
Don't worry about that, okay? Because keep in mind, a lot of the stories already exist, and they're reskinned. Because let's see, the Matrix is Star Wars. They're the same. The first Matrix and the first Star Wars, Episode 4. They're the same movie. They've got the same points and plot points that happen, and you go, "Oh, okay, we're good." So even if something's already out there, you're telling it in a new and different way, and that's what matters.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to beat a dead horse either. I don't want to rehash something that's already been rehashed 500 times.
It has comfort to it if it's recognizable.
That's true.
So it's a balance, and you're valid in that concern. But also, if you do it right, it's a new view, it's a new take. It's comfort food at worst.
Yes.
And you know what works with it.
True.
It's one of those A Bug's Life. That's Samurai 7 or the Seven Samurai, Magnificent Seven. They're all the same movie. It's just done. Lion King is Hamlet.
Right.
And we know there's a reason they steal from Shakespeare, because all of his stuff works.
That's a good point. the path's already kind of been laid there. So yeah.
So Tempe, here's what I'm going to tell you, and then I want to move over to Mike and Tara here and let them throw some advice and opinions at you here.
Okay.
I love to write in different genres, just because I like those different settings. The setting can be a character as much as the spaceship or the person's favorite car or the cop's gun that means so much to him or the army man's utility knife, etc. Thank you, Chris, for those bits. I appreciate that. And by the way, for our moderators, if you see somebody just being disruptive within chat, please feel free to time them out. Feel free to whisper them and tell them to cut it out, or feel free to just ban them. It's okay. And thank you guys for doing that, especially while I'm running one of these type of shows where it's a little less freeform and more structured. Okay, I started out writing fantasy like at age 14. And I didn't want to write anything else. Now, as time went on, and I started publishing, I did more steampunk because that's where people were coming at me going, can you do this? Do you want to do this? And I'm like, yes. And because of that, I have now written detective stories, Cthulhu, Lovecraftian horror, all in a steampunk skin. And that's the other thing. You're going to find one genre and paint it with the palette of another genre. As such as you've got historical fiction that maybe has a romance skin, or maybe it's a romance novel with a historical fiction skin, or maybe it's a fantasy. You get the idea. You blend, as you've mentioned, your multiple genres for what you've already done. There is no genre you can't do. Here's what I'll tell you. People connect with the characters. You will draw different people who think they like this genre. I don't like legal, but wow, does John Grisham write a great book.
Right.
On the other hand, quick side note and tangent, I'm listening to Dean Koontz' book on audiobook right now. Not the writer I remember when I read his books 20, 25 years ago. Yeah, really not... He is hugely successful. Who am I to talk? But yeah, just not as smooth as I remember. Kind of clunky and chunky.
Part of it's showing what can be done. So, I mean, he did a lot of that. Him and the Stephen King did a lot of that way back when, and then people kind of copied the formula. And now they've smoothed it out so much more than these guys did. It's not that they were bad in 1990, but they wouldn't be published today.
Right. Or wouldn't be as popular today. John says, with our comics, our usual issue is kids worrying too much that their work is like something else, and it tends to stagnate their creativity. This is what I've told people. Read the other books. Watch the TV shows. Watch the movies. Read the articles. Read the reviews. You are not going to consciously plagiarize. And even if you do pull elements or ideas or thoughts or whatever, it's going to create a familiarity. I'm going to use Silver and Smith because that's the one I'm editing. It's in my head right now. In the opening chapter, we all remember Indiana Jones with, toss me the whip, toss me the idol. Indiana Jones tosses him the idol, guy drops the whip, walks away. I have a scene very similar to that in the opening chapter, where different circumstances, different things, but there's definitely a familiarity to it that most people are going to go, huh. And I'm okay with that association. Matter of fact, I'm happy to have that association because it automatically tells my reader, this is the thing you can expect. This is a feel you're going to get. And that's where familiarity can be a step up. It's not a direct rip-off of the scene. Okay, but I digress. You don't hesitate to rewrite something you've seen before in your own way, in your own words, because life is repetitive. Tara?
Right.
How do you go from genre to genre? Do you have a gear shifting? Is there a different mindset? Because for me, I just explained, it's just a different color paint in the same room.
My genre jumping depends on the story I want to tell. I'll get an idea, and a lot of times it doesn't fit with other things that I have written in the past. I'm lucky that I've had 6 ideas that fit for E.G. Gaddis. And so that, and that's actually a little bit of branding going on there. Whereas everything else, I just dump under, for the most part, under Tara Muller. Because I've got ghost stories and a bunch of different things in there. Didn't realize I wrote horror until somebody read something and told me it was, and I didn't consider it horror because I consider horror like Stephen King, which I can't read. Still can't. I get about 3 pages in and wet my pants, and that's enough.
Well, I also, with horror, feel like there's psychological horror, suspense horror, and then gore horror.
Oh, freaking Alfred Hitchcock was great about some of that.
Yeah. But just, to mention something that you did there, Travis, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So if you're picking, if you found inspiration in something that somebody else has done, don't be scared of that. That's a great thing. That's where a lot of our creativity comes from to begin with. Is we're inspired by something we've seen, something we've heard, something we've smelled, whatever. Whether it's a real story that we know that's happened from our life, or whether it's we watch Witcher and go, ooh, I like this. I kind of have my own form of things. And Tempe, since I've read the Timely Revolution series, as far as I have so far, and that snippet, there are elements of your style in both of those, okay? Mm-hmm. And don't be, I think there are other story elements that, if you keep writing this, which I want to because I want to read the whole thing. Yeah, you've already grabbed me in that little bit. I guess what I want you to realize is that it's still yours, and there's the Tempe Wade genre. Okay, because we all have something in our writing that is something that goes through all of it that someone can look at it and read it and go, oh, wait a minute, I know who this is. There are some...
It's the author's voice.
Authors, yeah. In some ways, sometimes it's not always the author's voice, because if you take, say, Jane Ann Krantz and Amanda Quick, it's the same person. Jane Ann Krantz writes both of those. I love Amanda Quick stuff, especially when I was a teenager and into my young adult. And when I realized that they were the same author, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go pick up one of these Jane Ann Krantz books. Didn't enjoy it, but I still looked, and there were still little elements in there that I'm like, if I had not known it was, then I would get either she read Amanda Quick or Amanda Quick read her, because there were little elements in there that are the little tells, just like if you're a card player, you're playing your poker and you've got a tell. Authors have tells too. So just remember that, there's also, like I said, the Tempe Wade genre. And there are little elements in there of your storytelling, even in those snippets that you've given us, that your reader is not going to be scared if you are suddenly writing in a different genre, because those little elements that drew them to the Time of the Revolution series in the first place, they're going to find in this one too. So
they usually involve inappropriate thoughts, but
that's okay. And actually, what Tara's saying there is, if you look, some of the stuff, now I haven't read Timely Revolution, and the more we talk about it, the more I know. I'm sorry. But what you're writing now is much more up my interest line. What I've read of the little bit, which is one reason I'm like, ooh, do that, because that's more of my thing. It's my shtick. But looking at what you said about Timely Revolution, especially moving forward with Finn and whatnot, and the Fae and the fuckery and all that stuff. And Michael, we are so getting to you in just a minute, buddy. You're doing a great job waiting for your turn. I'm passing it to you.
I'm fascinated.
And do keep in mind, without the headset, make sure you lean forward when you go to talk. You're good right now.
Yeah. I'm chilling.
But Tempe, you have elements that are similar in both books, even in just the few pages you've written of the new stuff, if you continue with it. And that is going to show. And if you look at Stephen King, he doesn't have much by way of series. You got The Dark Tower, then you got Shining and Doctor Sleep. But so you might connect a couple books.
This holiday season, we all wish for hope and healing. Children and families who spend their holidays at the hospital deserve a reason to believe in first steps, in giggles, high fives, and hugs. For 150 years, Children's National Hospital has provided world-class care and groundbreaking research. Please donate today to help patients and healthcare heroes this holiday season. Visit childrensnational.org/holiday. That's childrensnational.org/holiday.
'Tis the season for those irresistible ginger thins, cozy blankets for cuddling by the fire, and making home warm and welcoming. For one-stop holiday shopping, visit your local IKEA or ikea-usa.com/holiday.
Tower being the exception to the rule. So there is nothing wrong with you writing your anchor series and then branching out. Look at Michael right there, who has 3 series, and this is where I'm going to bounce over to you, Michael. He has 3 series of very different genres, and let's talk about that. Why 3 genres? Do you have to do a mental shift to go from one to the other? And anything else that you've picked up as we're talking, Michael, that you want to go over?
Yeah, having 3 genres is really I've decided to kind of cut it off there for now until I finish one of these series, and never do more than I've decided that I'm gonna have Chicken Boy running in the background, do like a series of novellas every time, and then go into World of the Orb. But I think what Tara said is brilliant. I think like the Tempe Wade genre, the Travis Sivart genre, the E.G. Gaddis, Tara Moeller genre, the Aaron Kennedy genre. You know, we all have, if we do multiple genres, our writing style is going to be like the uniting factor. And I think as indies, it's a little bit more okay for us to do multiple genres. I think if, like, say we like lightning struck, and then one genre got really, or one book that we did got really huge, it blew up. You might want to focus on that one. Or like your audience may be kind of weirded out if you stray from the thing that like blew up so much. But for us, I think it's cool, and I think there are positive aspects to casting a big net and then seeing which thing like really resonates with people, or maybe they all equally resonate with people and they just like your writing style, and you're just hitting different parts of the reader pool. So if you are more familiar with one style and you're going into another genre, you just kind of want to ask yourself, what would your version of that genre look like? Because your
Michael, if I may, please. Chris, thank you for that, and I want to say congratulations to Princess Shiera, Aaron, Michael, the Gray Cat, and Matthew Ukilson, who, and forgive me if I get any of the names wrong on that one, for becoming a subscriber, thanks to Chris Cavalon right there, who just gifted 5, bringing his total to 50.
Chris.
That is awesome, Chris. Thank you so much for that. Here's to your face, and here's to all our new subscribers, including, 2 right here on the show. So thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Awesome. Michael, please carry on. Thank you for letting me interrupt with that. That is no
problem. That's awesome. Yeah, ask yourself, what would your version of this genre look like? Like, what are you looking for? What's the Tempe Wade version of fantasy? So, and what are the different ratios that you really want to turn? Which dials do you want to turn to max? What do you want to de-emphasize? Like, what's your favorite thing when you watch The Witcher? Like, is there anything you want to homage? I think.
Oh yeah, there is.
Well, we all know what that is.
I did see a meme recently, and for anybody who's listening to this 5 or 10 years after our broadcast, we are in the midst of coronavirus blossoming in the U.S. April 2020, just the beginning, so the next couple weeks will be very interesting for us. But I saw a meme that says, don't knock on my door unless if you're George Clooney, Matthew McConaughey, and there was one other name, or one of those firefighters holding a puppy that we see on the calendars. So I guess Henry Cavill would be on that little short list there for you.
The very short list. I don't celebrity crush much. but just
But
gonna.
when I do.
But when I do.
It's a. We can just imagine your husband weeping in the corner right now if Henry shows up. And what a name, Henry! Such an old-fashioned name
Yes.
for such a,
Well, he is
modern.
British.
Is he?
Yes.
And that explains
Yes, he is.
what. Okay, so we got about 12 minutes left in this. I want to give Tempe a chance to talk a little bit, and I also want to give each of us, after Tempe has a chance to talk, kind of a round robin to give that final advice as we hear her thoughts here. Tempe, do you have some thoughts?
Yeah, I think the reason that I kicked off on this fantasy thing was I kind of got stuck on the Timely series, so I needed something to change. I needed to expand my I need to expand my horizons a little bit and just kind of step away from. I'm far enough on that series that I've got 2 years worth of stuff already written anyway.
Pipe, yeah.
So this is something a little different. We'll see where it goes. It may go nowhere. It may do very well. We'll see. You don't know till you try. So
I agree. Aaron, do you have some thoughts on this?
No, like her, it was one of those. I kind of got stuck on book 2 of the Ships of Valor series, Politicus, and I'm like, you know what? Let me revisit one of my older works, and it is urban fantasy romance. Is the one I'm going towards. It's got about 15 pages or so done already, and then I'm gonna type that up and see if I can't get it to novella length.
Do we get to read those first 15 pages?
Absolutely.
Not worried about the rest. I just want to see the first 15 when you're ready.
Oh yeah, no. I just got to scan them in and put them up on Google Docs. They're done and prepped.
Did you handwrite them on like a legal pad?
No, friggin'. I lost the thumb drive or disc that it was associated with years ago, but I don't throw anything away.
That's good.
old school.
Oh, and there's another one. This is a high fantasy that I was looking at, but I was like, you know what? Let's do the urban fantasy first.
I'm excited to hear that, Aaron, because, I have been bugging Aaron for years. Hey, so how's your writing going? How's your writing going? Because, Aaron, I'm going to be cruel to you right here. I've read Ships of Valor, and there is definitely room for improvement, but there's a good core seed of a good storytelling there. But anytime you have a first book or a 20th book, there is room for improvement. There's room for growth. There's room for expansion. And there's definitely that with Aaron. And I want to see that. And by the way, guys, thank you all, each of you, for allowing me to criticize your work, hopefully showing the good and the bad, the strong points and the weak points from my point of view. And the reason I thank you for that is because every time I'm allowed to do that with you, it does two things for me. First of all, it gives value to my opinion and my knowledge. And that's a wonderful thing, because otherwise, where do I get that feedback on my own opinion? Second of all, it allows me to be a little less nervous when I share with you, because you've already opened yourself to me. So when I share, we all get that anxiety of... And also, hopefully, it lets you guys come at me critically and go, this could be stronger, this could be better, this is great, I love this, but this, let's talk about it. Michael, you got some thoughts on genre bending, genre jumping?
I really liked what you said about homages, Travis, because I do think that that's a great way to put a mental nugget in people's heads and connect it to other things without even realizing it. And it's just a cool and neat way to take things that have become classics for us and embed them in our works, and then maybe in the future they'll move forward and become the new classics. I remember for Winslow, I did lots of Spielberg homages, and one of them was, there's in the middle of the book, there's a letter that Winslow sends to John when there's this big disturbance in the bay, and he says that you're gonna need a bigger paper for this one, Chaplain. So it's a reference to Jaws, and it's fun. So yeah, have fun with it, and whatever story is populating your mind at the time is the one that's meant to be told, and it's just a matter of figuring out how you're going to tell your version of that genre.
Tara?
Yeah, read, watch, investigate, research the different genres that um, you're interested in. Not necessarily to see what is there to compare what you're going to do with, but just to get you familiar with the genre itself, some of the tropes, some of the what's going on with it, because then, from a publishing standpoint, it helps you figure out where the heck what you've done fits. Because I do have a little bit of insight on the two categories thing, but we can discuss that again offline. But
and I suspect, if I may interrupt,
business, yeah.
I suspect that whole thing with the multiple categories will come back as a topic in the future. I just didn't want to dominate tonight with it. Tara, please go on.
But if you're looking at writing as a business, which all of us here do, you have to have a little bit of familiarity with any genre that you think you're going to write in. Just to familiarize yourself with what's there. Because again, comps are what sell your book. It's like, Silver and Smith is Indiana Jones meets, I know you had said
Pirates of the Caribbean, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Guardians of the Galaxy. That's what gets people to read your book. And often if you are spanning more than one genre, then you have two audiences. I suspect, Tempe, that this fantasy of yours will have some romance in it, will probably have absolutely wonderful sex scenes in it. And
for all the little old church ladies.
More.
But yeah, and so the familiarization is kind of to help quell some of your fears about that genre, so that you're familiar with it, and then you can play with it and do with it what you want. So.
Can I just say I hate writing sex scenes?
Oh, tell me about it.
I despise writing.
Then you don't have to if you don't.
Writing is editing.
Yeah.
Sexy.
I'm like the whole time going, oh my god, should I write this?
Well, my advice for that would be either just accept it and do it. Have a good time with it.
Yeah.
Or stop doing it. Or
The
go ahead and
characters
just...
have a good time with it.
Yeah, I make sure the characters have a good time with it.
But you can also stop. You can say, and they fell together, close scene.
No, I wouldn't have the same effect, I don't think. Tara, what do you think?
Now, my thoughts on this topic here. First of all, yes, study your tropes. I've heard a lot of new writers going, well, I don't want the tropes. No, tropes are necessary. Those are the sightseeing expectations of that journey of the tourist that is your reader. If you don't have these, it is flawed and missing something. Now, you can be totally original and creative, but I recommend you do that after you have an audience. Doing that right away out of the gate, it's hard to grab an audience because you have no reference points to go, this is what you can look for and expect. There are certain things. If you take Star Wars, Aaron mentioned Matrix, blah, 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 blah. Star Wars is the King Arthur legend, retold. You have a wizard, you have a young farm boy, you have a magic sword, you have a Black Knight. And there are certain tropes that lend itself, though that's space opera, they're actually using fantasy tropes in there. Also, if you write a little bit on this and you're done and you put it down, still expect our support in that decision. This might be an exercise for you. You might go, oh, I don't actually want to do this. I just needed something to cleanse my palate. And I want to write something totally different than that or what I currently have out or whatever. Let's see here.
I haven't walked away from an idea yet, so.
I have. It's not easy. Usually what happens is I'll end up getting a handful of ideas and be able to put them together into one. So I don't actually walk away. I incorporate it into a larger picture thing. Other than that, I think that's it. But let me tell you what, I hate it when people abbreviate middle grade as MG, because I always think Magic the Gathering, the card game. Yeah, that's a side note. Now, it is almost the midpoint of the show, the top of the hour. Does anybody need to take a quick break?
Just to refill a soda.
Go to mute
Yes,
yourself, guys. If you
yeah.
do, step away. I'm going to talk to our viewers. If you're sticking around, feel free to jump in on this. Guys, I really appreciate you showing up. I appreciate you bringing your friends. The growth is amazing and incredible, whether it's here on the live show at twitch.tv/Travis Tavern Talk, or whether it's on the podcast across the board in all the places I put them. Folks who show up and add to the show, such as John of Conquest Publishing there, who is a comic book publisher and many other things. Spacey Tracy, who is just super supportive, and Michael's mother, but even without being Michael's mother, an incredible woman with her support. Cavalon, who I know personally, Chris, for many years now, and his support, whether or not he is slinging gift subs around. In this crazy topsy-turvy world we're in right now, just showing up means so much. Passing the link to the next person, bringing another friend to the table to hang out with us. Princess Shiara, I think you have been here for every episode so far, and we're up to episode 5, which, by the way, I did not put. Let me just put that right here and just change that real quick. I should have done that before. Oopsie.
Hi, Sammy.
There you go. We appreciate and love each and every one of you. Now, if you do have Amazon Prime, subscribing on Twitch for free to you, but it supports the channel by using Twitch Prime. Incredible. Awesome. But always happy to have you here, no matter what, just because you showed up. You ask questions, you interact with us, and that's why we do the show. If it was just for us, we don't need to broadcast it. It's because we're hoping somebody out there gets something out of it. And you guys are really the driving reason that we do it every week. So, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Now, we're going to give the others just a moment to...
At Capella University, education is as smart as the world around us. With the FlexPath format, you can take classes at your own pace, set your own deadlines, and even leverage your previous experience to move faster. Now that's smart. Learn more at capella.edu.
You know the old saying, selling like hotcakes? What does that even mean? What is a hotcake anyway? They should change it to selling like Hondas, because right now Hondas are selling faster than ever. Probably because they're so rugged, long-lasting, and fuel-efficient. And if you want one, you should get to your local Honda dealer right away. Check out the 8-passenger Pilot, or maybe the adventurous Passport. But you gotta do it fast, because Hondas are selling like, well, Hondas. New models are arriving now. Don't wait. See your local Honda dealer today.
Get back. I'm going to check and see who's lurking. Not because I'm calling you out, just because I like to know. Oh, I see a couple of familiar names. Glad to see you guys. Thank you for hanging out in the background. Appreciate that. We're about to go into the second hour where we're going to discuss initiate hazing. Or initiate hazing. Again, depending how you want to pronounce it.
That's right, bitch.
That's right. It's I'm just going to let everybody settle back into their chairs, and then we're going to get back into it. Tara's the last to join us, putting her headset back on, so welcome back. We're going to do the quick round robin of introductions for anybody that came in late. I am Travis Sivart. I am the author of the upcoming Silver and Smith, as well as Harbinger, Book 1 of the Downfall series, which is my epic medieval fantasy. Now let's go in reverse order and start with Tempe, please.
I'm Tempe Wade. I am the author of the Timely Revolution book series, and apparently an author of fantasy and romance now as well.
Beautiful. As delightful as your personality and your face. Now, just above...
Aw, thank you.
No, thank you. Michael, your face is beautiful too.
Thank you. My name's Michael Thompson, author of fantasy and superhero books. I'm going to show my first novel,
Absolutely.
World of the Orb's Love. Since I'm wearing the shirt today, World of the Orb, two best pals stumble across the hidden world at the Museum of Natural History was desperately trying to keep secret, and they're sent on a harrowing treasure hunt to find Earth again.
Woohoo. Tara.
Hi, my name is Tara Muller, and I'm the Dreamer-in-Chief at greenpunkpress.com.
Title.
And, and I want to talk about our latest book that came out on April 1st. Yeah, April Fool's Day, but there are 10 signed by the author copies, waiting for the first 10 folks who purchased it from greenpunkpress.com. So $15.99. It's a good read.
Who's the author?
YA, Zara John.
Thank you. So, and then Aaron.
Hi, I'm Aaron Kennedy. I'm author of the Ships of Valor series, starting with Persona Non Grata. I've been a technical writer for about 25 years. I've been published in the Army Times and the NCO Journal, in addition to all the writing that I do for my PhD and stuff. That's me.
Okay, now, in the second hour, it's our technical hour. We want to discuss initiate hazing. So I'll open up this thought, and if any of you guys need to interrupt me with your own thoughts, just throw a hand up so I can see, and I'll pass it to you. In the writing community, from other writers, largely it's been a very neutral response, which I understand, because what you do in any creative thing, a lot of people are like, I'm going to be whatever the creative title is, writer, artist, face painter, whatever. And you see a lot of people say that who never actually do it. Or they do one thing and they make no further effort. And you go, cool, good job. But it's hard to invest in that. Now, the other side of that, now I did have the extremes of people who helped me immensely. Which, fun fact, when I go back to them and go, thank you so much for everything you did, they're like, what? I don't know what I did. You're welcome, but yeah. Then the other side of that spectrum are people who are just nasty to new people to the craft, which I have never really experienced that. But I hear some other people have, and that's what we want to discuss. There is a certain amount of hazing everybody will go through because there's a learning curve, and there's times where even in kindness, you haze. Hey, here's something I've learned that you're not seeing yet. Trust me, you're going to need this. And maybe that new person, whether it was me at that point or anybody else I've spoken to, goes, great, I heard you, I got it. Other times, we have to learn by screwing it up all by ourselves. So, anybody else got some thoughts on the intro part of this?
Well, yeah, and Travis was a huge help to me. I wouldn't have gotten where I got without Travis, and I thank you for that, because when I wrote this, I had no clue what to do. I had no idea what to do. I had no idea you could put these things out yourself. It was just something, I had no clue about the process. So I knew Travis from conventions. I called him up and said, hey, can I buy you lunch and pick your brain?
I got lunch at a Chinese place, guys. It was a great deal.
Which, to be fair, is more than book sales for a lot of times.
It's fair.
I bribed him with cigars, too.
Yeah, that's
I bribed
true.
him with cigars, too. So, yeah. So, and he walked me through the process, and with his help, I got where I needed to be. And I've tried very hard to do the same thing for other people. I've had 3 or 4 people come to me since I published and said, hey, would you mind helping me out, giving me some advice? And every time I have sat down with them, whether it's been at lunch or if it's on the phone or, back and forth through email. What's the first piece of advice? The first piece of advice was the one you gave me, get an editor.
No, it's write the book.
Write the book.
Yeah.
Write the book.
Don't come at me with 2 chapters. Write a book.
Yeah, most of the ones that have come to me had already written.
Beautiful.
I had one person that came to me that had hooked up with a vanity publisher that was trying to rake her out of money, and I'm like, no. And she was an older lady. It's actually one of my mother's friends, and I said, no, stop. Let me help you. And we got her up and running in just a month. got her away from the Vanity Publisher, got her up and running. And I try to be very helpful and to do what Travis did for me and just kind of pass it down the line. And I've said all along, someone helped me and I will continue to help someone else. I'll pass it, I'll kick the can down the road. But other people sometimes, I've been at tables at conventions and you strike up a conversation with another writer and you mention that you're a writer and it's like, whoop, sorry, I don't have time to speak to you.
And by the way, not that Tempe was about to, we're not going to mention names, guys, because we've all had experiences with that person. And I'm not talking about a specific person either, but we have had writers that will not speak to other writers. And I guess that's the worst that I've had to deal with, is they're just like... So, go on, Tempe.
Yeah, and, it's not something that I understand because, people read more than one book. People who read tons of books, and they're always on the lookout for something new. And, I recommend to people all the time different writers. And, it's a community. And the more you help people, the more you help the community.
And it's a community of introverts.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a rare thing.
If you catch one of the elusive writers out, you really should talk to them.
But approach them slowly, gently,
With
hands in
caution.
plain view.
Like a cat. You
That's
can't
right.
sneak up on it and just pet it.
Like a rabid cat. You're not sure what kind of reaction you're going to get the closer you get. But yeah, it's a community, and it's something that we should be building, especially as indie writers, because it's something that we should be building. We should be growing together instead of working against each other.
I have a quick comment on that. Oh, Princess says, "You are so helpful, Tempe. You've definitely been my guide and sensei." And that's a beautiful
I'm glad
thing.
I could help you.
Finding that one person or that core group, it's a beautiful thing. And I had a handful of them also who, some of them I wrote books with, some I had a guest on Talk of the Tavern. Oh, darn it, Tempe. There was something I was going to comment on that you just said.
Indie community pulling together.
Yeah, it might have been the indie community thing. I don't recall. I'm sure it'll come back to me and I'll interrupt the next person talking. You guys got some thoughts on this? Who were your guys' mentors or influences? Not like, I read Stephen King, but Bob told me. Aaron?
Oh, okay. Oh, well, guy that I worked with, he ended up being kind of not an alpha or a beta reader, but somebody that after I had already got the book done, a guy named Jeffrey Berger. He actually ended up doing the cover for me. He's the author of the Wings of Steel series, and he's fairly high ranked when it comes to the sci-fi stuff. He's got 5 or 6 books out now, but he went through and he's like, oh, hey, okay. I met him through a friend of a friend, so when he read it, I wasn't approaching him asking him for anything. It was a case of somebody else handed him and said, hey, check this guy out. He's a friend of mine. Tell me what you think. And I think that's where we're kind of running into maybe a little bit of that neutrality or pushback, is you get the bigger artists and they're constantly being asked for things. Hey, can you take a look at this? And as Travis says, hand me a book and sure. And I'll put this out here right now. I've got my own publishing house. Tara's got hers. Travis got hers. Anybody that comes to me with a completed book that has gone through an editing process and has actually got a cover, I'll publish it under my house. I don't care. I'll support you as best I'm able, because I want to be the kind of guy that supports things. And I think I've told that to Travis before. I'd rather be the kind of guy who goes yes and than no but. And that's just a standing offer to anybody in the community. But you got to do the first thing of write it and get it edited, because we're putting out product here. But on the flip side of that, we're doing all this stuff, and it's hard to approach people and ask these questions and then actually take the advice, because we get out of artistic mode into, oh, it's a business mode. And I know I sound like a broken record when I say that, but on the technical side of the house, we're a business. We are a self-employed or employer in Tara's case, business, and we're trying to build it bigger, better, and produce good product.
Now, Tara, I see you rocking back and forth. Usually that means you've got something percolating.
No, that's just my autism coming out.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
Do you have any thoughts on this before I pop over to Michael and then put mine in?
You had said, who do we get advice from? And of course, Travis, I get advice from you. Don't always take it. But that usually bites me in the butt. And sometimes it's just a different artistic viewpoint. But others, and like you said, there's those that share. John Hartness, Falstaff Books, went down to his conference in March, and he's one of these guys who will just tell you anything that you ask. He will answer the questions best he can, but don't argue with him because he's telling you what he's done to be successful. And so, if you're asking him for advice, don't knock him on it. You know what I mean? I mean, I was there and somebody started questioning, and he was just like, which one of us is the expert here? You asked me for advice. Something that I do run into sometimes, and I try to always give advice and say, well, here's the mistakes I made. Okay. Don't buy 100 books of 100 copies of your first book if you're self-published and think you're going to sell them all in a weekend. No. So when you couch it like that, hey, this was my mistake. I mean, don't make this mistake. This can be iffy, et cetera, and then you get the pushback. It can be hard. The next person that comes up and asks those questions for you to answer them. And I think, as Aaron said, the folks who've been doing this for a while, after a bit, they get that enough that they're like, yeah, maybe not. But we were all beginners at one point, and if we remember that, I think it can go a long way even after we get successful.
Does anybody here no longer feel like a beginner? Because I still feel like a beginner most of the time.
Oh, heck yes. I'm still a beginner.
I question everything I do still. I mean, I'm always learning. I learn something new every day, and when I offer advice, I don't claim to be an expert. I'm just offering my experience, and if what helped me helped you, great. But I did what worked for me, and ultimately you're going to have to figure out what works for you because there's no magic bullet.
No.
Yeah, everyone has like a strong point and areas where they need to grow and learn.
Now, Michael, I want you to finish what we're going around, but first I want to read a comment here. Just asked if we feel like a beginner. This comment says it all. Cold Brew Science, you were the one lurking. Glad to see you chiming in. Says, I don't often talk a lot, and I'm very much a quiet observer. But I did want to say I appreciate being here and being able to benefit from everyone's experience and wisdom as I try to figure out my own direction. And there's the answer. Yes, we still have moments where we question. I think that's of value, by the way. It's when you're of absolute confidence, thinking you can't do wrong, is when you've lost a lot of opportunity. So
George Lucas, episode 1.
True story. Michael, let's move over to you real quick now.
Changing the subject.
Okay, well, I do want to say that the first convention I had ever done, I had done book signings since I was 13, but I hadn't gotten into the convention scene until after I graduated college. And the first convention I had ever done, I was in the corner of Author Alley in RavenCon, and that's where I met Travis and Tara.
That was your first convention?
And that was my first convention ever. And you guys have been so welcoming, and I so value you guys as friends. And it's nice because writing is an isolating career, and it's being in this community is a lot like having coworkers and people you can ask advice from. So, but you guys know that I definitely, I'm like super vocal about my books when I sell them. So, I talk to literally everyone who enters my zone. So therefore, I've encountered like almost every possible type of reaction that someone can have to what I do or what I'm trying to introduce to them.
It's true. Michael ties strings to bookmarks and throw them out and reel people in.
Yeah, my bookmarks. It's a lot like fishing.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah, but I always like I hang on to the positive stuff a lot more than the negative stuff. The negative stuff usually makes hilarious stories later on, but the positive stuff is what I hang on to, and especially in the moment when I'm selling and when I'm trying to like reach new people, I will like immediately forget if something like shattering just happened. I had my friends who had never seen me do my thing before, like they know that I'm an author, but early on, like when World of the Orb came out is when people started coming to my events, because I started doing cooler events like cons and stuff that people wanted to come to more. And I remember my buddy, my old roommate, he sat behind my table with me, and then I was like, hey, you want a free bookmark? Want a free bookmark? And people were like, no. And then there were a few rude people. It's like, no. And I even had one guy like take the bookmark, rip it, and then laugh.
Ouch!
Yeah, but I twirled my mustache while I did it.
I was like, and then I just moved on to the next person. And my friend was like, it's like, oh my god! And I was like, what? He said, how do you subject yourself to this? This is horrible. Like you're putting your soul on the line. That's your child. This is your livelihood. This is the worst feeling in the world. I was like, ah. It's like, doesn't matter. You gotta keep moving.
No,
but man,
if I may,
yeah.
Commenting on a few things. By the way, two of the people that very much helped me in the beginning, Tanya Brown, who wrote the Railroad series, very good book. Even the audiobook is well done. Enjoyed the hell out of reading it. She also wrote, hold on, it sounds like Armageddon, Gnomergeddon. Basically an apocalypse by gnomes. It's great. Fun.
Nice.
Clever, witty, medieval fantasy, a little filthy. Loved it. And Wendy Callahan, who actually co-wrote Steampunk for Simpletons with me right there. These were two people that definitely helped me in my initial baby steps without expecting anything back, and delighted to do so. Here's something I'm going to tell anybody who is new and you're approaching somebody. Don't come at an author going, can you read my stuff, when you don't have a completed book, as Aaron mentioned, and you've never read a single sentence they wrote. For two reasons. First of all, they might be a crap writer, and you don't want their advice. Second of all, have a little courtesy. And I'm not saying you got to go buy every one of their books. I'm just saying be familiar with their work so you can speak to them about their work. It's a relationship, people. It's a give and take. You can't come at somebody going, gimme, 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 and they're like, I've got a job I'm doing, right? How about you help me, I'll help you? Then it's a relationship. It's a friendship. But right now, you're just coming at me like a dog that wants to eat the sandwich in my hand, and I don't know you. And as Tara just mentioned, know how to take advice. If you ask advice and somebody gives you advice, even if you think that advice is complete crap, shut your mouth and take it. You went to them and asked them for a reason, for you to justify your point of view or to defend why you did something. Swallow that for a moment. You asked for this feedback and advice. Now, maybe they're wrong, but at least give it the consideration that maybe they know what they're talking about. You respected it enough to go to them. Value your own opinion in that. Trust yourself. You went to them for a reason. Listen to them. Now, once you mull it over for a day, 3 days, a week, then throw it out the door if you want to. Absolutely. But at least give the person the value that made you go to them in the first place. Learn how to take advice, in other So, Tempe, I'm really curious. You've mentioned you've taken some blowback, you've taken some crap, more of a snubbing than direct, because writers are
Yeah,
skittish creatures.
and I mean, I've met writers who think that. Okay, let me say this up front.
Mhm.
I will never run down another author's work,
Mhm.
whether I like it or not, because to me, writing is a form of art, and beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Right.
I might think that their stuff is crap, but I will never say that because it's very writing is personal. I know my characters, they're like my family, and I'm very protective of them, which is why I made the remark, if I ever, for some reason, this blew up and got made into a TV series or something, that I would need to pick the characters because I'm the one. They're my babies. They're in my mind. But there are people out here that just because you've been writing for a long time doesn't mean you know everything. And writing a chapter in 15 years does not make you a writer. Just FYI. I've had people say, I'm a writer. I've written a chapter in the past 15 years. And I'm like, well, that's great. Are you going to finish?
Well, let me help you with that perspective. They are a writer. They wrote. Okay. That is the definition of a writer.
Wrote something.
They're not an author.
That's a good point. Yes.
And this is something in the beginning I went, oh, am I? I've only done some short stories. And by the way, I have seen people headline a convention with one short story published in somebody else's book. And I'm like, how do I not value my own opinion and my own experience when this is what can headline a whole convention? So value your own stuff. But yeah, you don't want to cut anybody down. And Tempe, here's what I'll tell you. You might say you'll never put anybody down. Yeah, you wait till you pick up a book that hasn't been edited well. You will say some shit. You'll be smart and say it privately and not drag them down publicly. Absolutely.
I might say it in my mind, but I won't say it to the writer.
No, or to close people. And if you like the writer, for example, if you catch one of us doing this, oh my God, please come to us and tell us.
Yeah.
And maybe your opinion is maybe we consider it and go, well, I don't think she's right. But we definitely want that kindness.
I've had writers come to me and say, hey, can you write a review for me? And I've read it, and it wasn't particularly my thing, but here's the other thing. When I wrote the review for this person, I picked out the best possible elements, and I gave them a 5-star rating because, again, that is their art.
Yeah.
It's not my place to judge, their art, and that's not something I will ever publicly do to anyone. So
I don't feel like reviews were invented to give people a reason to not go to a place or an item or an art, because I'm already not at that restaurant or that theme park or that book or that movie. I'm already not there. I don't need something else to make me not go there.
Right.
I need to know what the pluses are. Why should I go there? And I feel like that's what reviews are for. Yeah. And also from the business aspect, to beat Aaron's drum here for a moment, it's the thumper rule. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. You are in a business world, and that person might be a crap writer, but they could also be running the next publishing house or be the next chief and editor of, you don't know. Or they could just be that little sniping asshole that goes online and undermines every damn thing you do because they have no life. Whichever it is, if you can't say something nice, shut your mouth.
And that's the rule I try to go. I can find the good in everything.
And,
it might not be much, but I will find it. And, I will, will pull the good out of everything. But when it's hard because that's the rule I go by when you meet other writers who don't live by that rule. And you have to kind of stop and take a breath and say, okay, That's the way they live. That's not the way you live.
Right.
That's not the way you want to be, so don't be that way. And that's my approach with all of this. So that's just me.
No.
And I'll tell you, you said talking about feeling like the difference between writers and authors. I still don't consider myself a writer most days. I've got 4 published books out and several more written, and some days I still don't consider myself a writer. I still question it.
You're a machine.
I'm a machine.
Yeah.
I'm just spouting off crap that's in my head, and people happen to like it.
One of Tara, Aaron, Michael, do you guys have anything to add to this? And I have to quickly just turn on a light here. I'll be right back. Keep talking.
All right. This goes back to my point about being the kind of person that supports. Tempe is 100% the kind of person that supports in this regard. She wants to find the good in things, and it highlights that. Everything that I've dealt with in regards to Michael shows the same thing. Now, Tara from the editor's standpoint, she's still doing it, but she's looking at it with a critical eye. Which, if she's offering advice, it's because of her expertise on there. Just like if we give it to a beta reader and have them read it, and they just point something out, it's not because they're being mean or anything like that. It's because they see something that we have a blind spot to, and it goes back to the 2 people agree rule, and one of them can be me. If I look at it and go, oh wow, all right, this maybe needs to change, or but if you start seeing a pattern.
At Capella University, education is as smart as the world around us. With the FlexPath format, you can take classes at your own pace, set your own deadlines, and even leverage your previous experience to move faster. Now that's smart. Learn more at capella.edu. At Capella University, you're in control of your education. With the game-changing FlexPath format, you can set your own deadlines and move at your own pace. The faster you move, the more you save. Visit capella.edu to learn more.
We started looking at that and go, okay, and that's where it comes into the taking of advice.
Yeah.
Especially as we talk to other people, go, hey, what do you think about this? And we highlight it, go, okay, well, this is what I saw. It's not that I'm being mean or anything. It's just what I'm seeing here, and there's an issue. It may not be a problem, but it may just be an issue.
And there's a difference between giving honest feedback that's helpful and being mean and snarky and just trying to run somebody else down because they happen to write as well. And you think, oh, there's not room for 2 writers in this hall, and that's not the case at all.
Yeah, I've encountered people like that, and there's definitely you go and walk into a bookstore. There's plenty of room on the shelf,
Exactly.
for everyone. Support the art.
Well, we know negative people.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? 1 out of every 5 or 1 out of every 10 is just a negative person, and they're always talking about what they don't like, not what they do like, and. I understand if you're getting hammered a lot, it's going to come out. But some of that is you're the common factor here. If you're having a bad day 365 days out of the year, maybe it's not your environment. Maybe it's you.
Yes, exactly.
Here's something else.
And
sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if you put your work out there, you have to learn to develop a thick skin and let the stuff just kind of roll. Because if you take stuff to heart too much, it will eat you alive inside. You just got to let it roll. Let it roll. If you run across somebody like that, say, nice to meet you, have a great day, move along, and just let it go.
Here's something else I'll tell you. If all your beta readers, or even just one of your beta readers, if any of your beta readers are only giving you positive feedback, they're not a good beta reader. They might be a fan. They might be a great friend. They're not a good beta reader. You should get everybody that can find something in your work and go, hey, take a look at this. And by the way, John here says, I run into professionals in the industry who tell folks that their work is good just to get them to move on. And then they don't advance because they think that what they're doing is good. Princess Shiera says, yes, indeed, there is a whole community. It shouldn't feel like the story from Dr. Seuss, the Sneetches. It shouldn't be a seclusion or ridicule of others that degrade certain writers for a minor problem. So, criticism is of utmost importance. It's how we improve, it's how we find the flaws. But keep in mind with that criticism, there should also be that positive reinforcement of, I love your description ability, but your characters don't come off as unique, or whatever it is. You can strengthen this, or it might be, man, you use the word okay a lot. Whatever it is, they should be able to find good and bad in your writing. And as Aaron said, use the two-person rule. You hear this from multiple beta readers. And if you have 25 beta readers, if you hear it from 5 or 6, maybe listen. If you have 2 beta readers, if you hear from both of them, maybe listen.
Yeah.
And then, of course, pay attention to your editor. Your editor is not your enemy. Your editor is your friend. They are trying to help you create the best work you can make. If anything, I look at Tara when she edits my work, and matter of fact, I called her the other day, earlier this week, and went, do you have anything else? She's like, no, just that. I'm like, what about this? And she's like, yeah, And we discussed that one point that's one of my beta readers pointed out in a different book that they read, and she's like, you could work on that. I'm like, awesome. So I took this criticism that I kind of went, that might be something to it. Let me get a new opinion. And went to my editor. Because Tara tries not to change our voice when she edits our books. But
Tara is very good. Tara is very good about that. She very much doesn't want to change your story, but she'll make a note, hey, maybe this would be a better place for this, or maybe this will be. And I appreciate that, because I didn't want somebody that went in and just changed everything topsy-turvy and took everything away from
but she
what
will
I
tear
was
it
trying
up,
to
won't
do.
she?
I don't know what you're talking about, Travis.
And I appreciate that. I want that. If I send it, I have had more than one other editor go, I love your story so much I get caught up and I forget to edit. And I'm like, God, that's awesome. Till you get the return product and people are finding error after error after error. Then you're like, you know what? You need to edit to stop enjoying it. Thank you. But, So let's
That's
talk.
why I try to read the book twice when I edit. I edit both times. I mean, one's not just a read through, but I try to read through. The first time it's definitely all of the stuff that really hits me, and then I'll go ahead and you guys don't see this because they're gone by the time you get it, but there'll be big highlights in a couple of different colors for that second go through. I might not read every word the second time, but I go to those highlights because it's like, okay, something here, either you need something to follow it up because it's a little different and I want to make sure that you're doing that, or it doesn't make sense for the story so far and I need to, and I'll like, oh, wait, yeah, here it is. I'll go back, I'll unhighlight that because you wrapped it around and whatnot. So you guys don't see that process. You just see the red lines that I give you of my suggestions, and I always couch that as a suggestion because as a writer, I recognize that it's not my book. You've asked me to help you with some specific aspects, the verbiage, a little bit of development, whatever. But because I am also a writer, I understand that it's not my baby. And I try very, very hard not to change anything. But yeah, there'll be big highlighted passages for me to go back to and reread after, I've gotten through the first time just to make sure, whether it's something I want to make sure you followed up on or something I'm like, okay, I can't fix
If I
this
may
right
interrupt
now.
real quick. Eben, thank you for that, host. Good to see you. Thank you for popping in. And when you're done, Tara, I have a few comments to read here. Carry on.
That completely lost my train of thought because I also have a cat behind me banging on the door. My apologies. So go ahead, Travis.
Real quick, let me read Princess Shiara's comment. She says, I feel like criticism is a teeter-totter. The weight fluctuates and it depends on us to see how we'll balance it, to keep it neutral and calm as opposed to a sensitivity. I too still struggle with making sure I don't take it to heart too much. Princess, I don't know if you were here. I think you were. I don't even know if I said it on air. But the first time Tara took this book right here and went, can I re-edit the first couple pages for you? And she did a dozen or more, way more than I expected. And it was like my 10th grade, just red lines all over it. Which, by the way, Tara, let me say this. The first thing I do anytime you hand me back an edit is go read every comment. I love comments in the margins. I love them. Right now, all the ones in this book you just returned, it's like, is that the word you wanted? There's like no good juicy comments, good or bad. So all I'm telling you is I don't expect them, but please feel free to put them if you're inclined. I love that personal one-on-one feedback, and I almost want to create like a message group to go through each one and discuss it with you and everything, because I good or bad, I love them. But Shiara, what I'm telling you is, when I first got those edits back from Tara, after I had paid to have it edited, and I got it back, it hurt my feelings. And I got upset. And I read through them all, and I closed the document, and I went to bed. I shut down my computer, and I went to bed. And the next day, I went back, opened it back up after a good meal to make sure my mood was leveled, and read them again. This time a little more self-critically. And I was so glad she was bold enough to do this. And I sent her a message via Facebook, I believe at the time, going, "You hurt my feelings. Thank you. Because these are and she's like, oh, thank God. I have lost friends by doing this, and I was worried about upsetting you." I'm like, oh, you did. But in a good way. And I've gone back to her again and again. I recommended her to Tempe and other people because my feelings got hurt in the good way. Aaron?
Speaking to this, because I spoke to Travis probably the week after it happened, and he's like, there was a sense of euphoria about him because he actually got back good edits. Yeah, they hurt, but he was actually excited about it because it showed him what was going on. Because I was one of his, not necessarily a beta reader, but after first publication. But it kind of reminded me of Penn Jillette. He's got a couple things out there that are great, and I think they'll work well for us. Whenever him and Teller are doing magic tricks, the first phase that they're always doing is they just tear the trick apart. They look for any possible way that this will not work because they want it to fail immediately rather than having all that investment in it. So if trick's not going to work, why dedicate man hours when they've got just them? Whereas the 100-person crew that runs the show, that's a lot of investment in it. The other thing is he tells a story about him and Siegfried and Roy. Penn Jillette is outspoken. He can be a bit of a dick when it comes to his public appearances and stuff like that. Case in point, his face got eaten by a friggin' tiger. He has said that publicly numerous times. However, every time Siegfried and Roy heard their name mentioned by Penn Jillette, they sent a thank you note saying thank you for your kind words in public. Because all it is publicity for them. Feedback is publicity. So there's no need to... I don't want to contradict you, Shara, but what we're looking at is I'd rather you be talking about me than not talking about me, even if it's a little bit bad, because that's one more person that has heard of me then.
That's that great Pirates of the Caribbean meme.
What's
Remember that? Oh, it's the...
You're the worst pirate I've ever heard of.
Yeah, but you have heard of me.
You have heard of me.
I watched a stream last night where after the guy did his writing, he watched an anime. And it was like on Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb, really low rated anime, like really bad. It was like 20 minutes long. And basically, you know, they kind of like rolled their eyes at it and laughed about it. And I'm like, but you watched it.
Yeah, that's true.
You watched it. And you're going to tell somebody else about it. You know, so Michael, you've been kind of sitting back and letting everybody else talk. Do you have some thoughts? I want to give you the floor if you want it.
Oh, it's okay. I've been really tired lately, but so I'm enjoying absorbing more today. But I guess I'll give a shout out to, I'm gonna go way back when, many years ago. I want to give a shout out to my 4th grade teacher, Mr. Arisich, and he's the reason I became an author for real. And you guys know the story that just the year before, I was getting my artwork ripped up by my other teacher.
You guys want to hear the full story, go listen to the previous broadcast. It's in there, and it's a wonderful story. Go on, Michael.
Yeah. But he, when I ended up in his class, and he had that creative element, and all the things that was happening naturally, that I was doing, no matter what, it was suddenly like, it was like, hey, this is great, and you should do it. You should do it more, and you should try this. So that was incredible. So shout out to all the teachers out there.
I want to comment on something else that was set up here. John said it. If you get somebody in your face that you just give them false praise to make them go away, you're a dick. Okay? You can give the praise of you're working on it. That is great. That is awesome. But you have things to learn. Don't give, especially somebody just starting out, you don't want to make them feel like they're at the professional level day one before they've ever published. You want to encourage them, but you also need to prepare them for that criticism that is going to help them hone their skill set and build their skill set. Otherwise, you're giving them a participation ribbon of life. And this does not... I see Aaron raising your hand. I'll pass it.
When you got a chance.
I'm pretty much done. I'll finish the thought up with giving everybody a participation ribbon does not create a better future, a better product, a stronger art. And it's a cop-out, which I understand wanting to get people out of your face when you're busy with something, but there's a better way to do it. Aaron?
This actually goes into some friggin' the health and the leadership, which is actually my bailiwick on the physical fitness side. If you tell somebody, hey, I'm planning on losing 30 pounds this year, and they go, oh, wow, good for you, you're going to get an endorphin high off that, which in turn prevents you from actually losing the 30 pounds. I'm not joking. The same happens when you talk about writing. When you say what your plan is to another person and you get positive feedback to that, it kills momentum because you get the high immediately that you would have got when you said, I have completed this. I have accomplished this. So you don't necessarily want to share what you're doing or how far you've gone, or you want to couch it and go, hey, I finished 3 chapters in this. Oh, rock on. Or rather than I'm writing a book or I'm doing this, couch it in what you've accomplished as opposed to what you are working towards. No, because it can just kill that mental feedback that we've built in.
Flip it the other way when somebody comes at you going, I'm writing a book, and how you give them encouragement at that point in time. Hey, that's great. What's the next step? How much you doing? Make them accountable for what they're doing. This gives them that encouragement, but it also makes them know you're not done. You have work to do. Which I hate it when I get a book back from Tara and I have more work to do because I already wrote it. Damn it! But I
wrote it twice.
Well, and also Elizabeth Pickle Lady, who is on Monday nights Talk of the Tavern with me most times, and is a screenwriter. She beta read Portals and sent back really helpful stuff, and I went, not because of the criticism, but because she's right, and now I have to go back and do more work when I want to go to the next thing.
Yeah.
But it was some really good advice and really good points that she made, and we want to do this to each other and anybody else coming. I have a lot of people. Good night, John. Drive safe. We'll see you again soon. Tomorrow night's the game. I have people pop in to the chat or when I'm at a convention and they're like, I'm a writer. I'm like, great, what have you written? And maybe it's 1 chapter, maybe it's whatever. I'm like, have you finished it? They're like, no. And I'm like, great, when are you going to finish it? And you see them get this deer in the headlight look like, And I'm like, this is it. You know, when are you going to finish it? this is what you're trying to do. You want to be this, you've got to do this. And this is something, like I said, when I asked Tempe, when we first started this topic at the top of the hour, what was the first advice? And she said, get an editor. It's actually the second advice. First is write the damn book.
Yeah. She skipped over that because she doesn't have that problem.
Right. You're right.
I'd already written 4 by then.
Yeah.
Whereas people like myself have been freaking plugging away at the same book for months, if not years. Now, I'm writing other things, which is important, but you can't focus on what you're doing. Focus on what you've done and then work towards what you're doing.
Right. Yeah, and by the way, each is valid. If somebody's like, well, I've been working on it for 15 years. No. If you've wrote one chapter, if you wrote one word a day, you've already beat past one chapter. You haven't been working on it is the point. You haven't. But if you have been working on it, and I don't care if that's 50 words a day or 5,000 words a day, if you're actually working on it on a regular basis, that's not 50 words a month.
With MailChimp, you get a whole lot more than a URL. You get an all-in-one marketing platform to help drive sales. That means you can connect your data to make more informed, smarter decisions. And you get powerful automation tools like our Customer Journey Builder to ensure you never miss an opportunity to turn shoppers into loyal customers. So if you're ready to integrate your marketing and boost sales, get started today at MailChimp.com/smartmarketing. MailChimp, built for growing businesses.
'Tis the season for those irresistible ginger thins, cozy blankets for cuddling by the fire, and making home warm and welcoming. For one-stop holiday shopping, visit your local IKEA or ikea-usa.com/holiday.
On a regular basis. Preferably every day, but sometimes you can't. When I was working 70 plus hours out of the house a couple weeks ago, I'm not writing. I'm just not. You know, I'm out of my house 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and I still have to do all the other normal stuff. So it didn't happen. So I get life happens. But yeah, if you're writing, write. If you're drawing, draw. If you're a chef, cook. Whatever it is that you are passionate about, do it. Otherwise, you're not doing it. And this is what I'm telling people. I have people approach me at conventions or here, and they're like, read my stuff. And I'm like, who are you? Have you read my stuff? Can we trade here? Can you go? I'll give you a free completed novel. Go read it, drop a review, I'll read your stuff. Yeah, Tempe.
There's an analogy. When you go in a store to use the bathroom, you always buy something when you're in there. So that's a good analogy. You don't use the store's bathroom without buying something.
If you're going to shit here, try something.
Fair. But yeah, keep in mind.
Books are really good. They're not toilets.
To get support.
No, but they can be read in the toilet.
That's right.
To get support from somebody, you have.
Toilet paper shortage.
Yeah.
Paper.
Hey, once you buy it,
Buy two.
That's why all my stuff's printed on soft paper.
In these hard times, yeah.
I'm sorry, Travis. We just completely.
No, it's okay. It's if you're gonna approach somebody for help, expect to give something back. Okay? You're not any more entitled than any one of us. And we are doing what we can to make a living with this within our capability and allowability. So if you're going to come to somebody and go, hey, give me something, your time, which for us, time is money. It takes time to write these books. You might read it in 6 hours or 3 days or 2 weeks, but it took us anywhere from weeks to months to years to write it. And that's a lot of time and effort. So for you to go, tell me how to do it right. And then when we do, for you to come back going, well, that's not right.
Well, to that point, what a lot of people don't understand is that this business, it's not a climb up a mountain. It's a maze and a dungeon. It's not one of those, we run into things that should not work the way they do work. You said you had submitted a inquiry.
that's a gatekeeper that we got to run into. That's a mob boss that if you don't do the script correctly, you just don't make it past them. You can't get to the next step. You can have a great product that is ready to publish by one of the big five, but you can't call them directly. You have to go through an agent that's already got built up relationships, and they have to be looking for something like what you got based on, oh, you know what, this month it's mermaids, next month it's centaurs. Oh, we're doing time travel this week. And just hope it hits at the right time.
I like that metaphor, Aaron.
That's good.
That's good.
Did you make that up or read it somewhere?
No, I made that one up.
Well done. Tempe?
If you ever want to be entertained, go on Twitter and look at agents and what their query list is.
God.
Circus clowns jumping through alien saucers that are doing cartwheels off of mermaids. It's the craziest thing you've ever seen.
Well, look at how movies are coming out, because you've got these like sets of movies that all come out around the same time. Like between the Bugs Life and Ants, they both came out at the same time. Mouse Hunt.
There's a big dystopian hit after the Hunger Games, and you had like Maze Runner and all that stuff. You know,
with the agent that sorry, cat fell off something while sleeping. You okay, Otter? With the agent I queried today, this is an agency that another writer friend, R.S. Belcher, Rod Belcher, great guy, good books. He's with this agency, and they tied him to Tor Books.
Nice.
And not saying that'll happen for me, but I went and looked at their website and looked at their different agents and their wish lists, and I've been looking at those wish lists for about 3 months. And they have been pretty steady and solid. I've seen some changes, but in general, it hasn't flipped week to week, which is a beautiful thing. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you for posting his thing there.
Yeah, you're welcome, sir.
And this is a whole nother topic, but we will talk about publishing houses at some point in time. And we'll talk about stuff like what Tara and I have, which is a publishing group, not a publishing house. So it's a cooperative. It's a commune of writers supporting each other. And then
I've been told that's the better word, collective.
Collective.
But cooperative, yeah.
Syndicate.
Mob. So, and then there's the...
Oh, no, family. Mafia.
You have the big five, you have the mid, and then you have us. So, and we'll discuss that down the road because, a lot of times there is different challenges and different discrepancies depending which one you're dealing with. And there are pros and cons to each of them. And I'll tell you what, I think there is more pros in the top 5 and doing it yourself than any of that middle ground. And by the way, Eben says, my dad said, to hell with publishers, and created his own publishing company. And that's what Tara did with Dream Punk Press, and that's what I did with Talk of the Tavern Publishing. And apparently, Aaron, also, what's the name of your... Oh, and Michael, too. Michael Thompson. Name your publisher.
Valor Books.
Thompson Original Productions.
There we go. And Tempe?
Tempe W. Wade. I'm my own thing.
Okay. So, and when indie writing first started growing, and by the way, this is another reason to take criticism and listen. As indie writers, we want across the board. There was a stigma associated with indie writers for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Because we were putting out crap.
Yeah.
And we want to bring new people in independently, not under us, and make sure we're putting out a good product. Because it's like Lindsay Sterling in the music industry. If you don't know who she is, look up Lindsay Sterling. She came out and she went to record companies and went, this is what I do. And they all went, the fuck? And she went, cool. And she worked her ass off. Great choreography, great music, and just picked the scenes, got one person with a camera following her around, and then she'd studio record, match it up, do her own editing. And when she has 1 million followers on YouTube, record companies are like, hello, can we? And she's like, no, I'm good. I did all the work. Screw you, because that's what you told me. Always remember Sturgeon's Law, says Evan, when you're talking about putting out crap. What is Sturgeon's Law? And this will be then I want to give a quick go around to everybody's closing thoughts on. And maybe in our closing thoughts, if you don't have anything in particular, name a way that we can support new people instead of alienate them. While we're waiting for Eben to type that, Tempe?
Just, if you see a new writer and somebody who's got a lot of questions, take one under your wing, make it your good deed for the day or the week or the month or the year or whatever, and sit down with them and help them out. And that knowledge that you pass along, tell them, hey, pay it forward. Let them pay it forward to somebody else. And if we get, everybody working together, we'll build a better collective product.
Mm-hmm.
And, indie writers are not getting the recognition they should get at this point. And it's because of agents that are blocking us. They will block you because they don't like a query letter or something you wrote in a query letter, and they won't even read what you wrote. There are a lot of good writers out here, and there are a lot of good stories out here that are never making it past the front door, and that's a shame. It's a shame that there are so many stories that are not making it out here, and we need to do a better job as a collective group of making a better product and helping each other out with it.
Tara?
Bite your tongue a lot. A lot of, especially if you go ahead and you take somebody under your wing. Dreampunk Press has a new author right now. I love this story. I edited it. It's a wonderful story. There's a lot of good in there. There's a lot of reasons it fits very well with Dreampunk Press. And when you do that, though, there's going to be hiccups along the way, and sometimes, when you've got 8 to 10 years experience in there, you have to kind of remind yourself what you were like 10 or 8 or 6 years ago, before you had some experience in that, and not take every question and every, and because I'd said, if you do ask somebody for advice, don't blast them afterwards and say, I think you're wrong. I mean, when you've asked for advice. But as the person that is, has the more experience, kind of remind yourself of what you might have been like when you first started. You thought you knew stuff because you read articles, you went to conferences, you were a member of SCBWI, you read their stuff, you went to stuff, and you were told stuff from, 10 years ago, everything was traditional for SCBWI. Now they actually recognize self-published authors. But, remember, and sometimes you've got to bite your tongue as the person with some of that knowledge so that you're not scaring them off, you're not alienating them, because it's that fine balance between criticism that's constructive and encouragement that's not false praise.
Michael?
I think no matter what you encounter when you're first starting out, just look at everything as a potential learning opportunity. And I think that because anything can be, and if it's something that's great, take it to heart. And if it's something that's if it's a negative experience, then think of what would you say to a younger version of yourself, or your child, or any budding apprentice, and how would you, having gone through it, how would you try and help them out of it? And in a way, thinking about that, you can help yourself out of that situation in the moment. And in terms of what you can do to help new authors, just talk to people, make friends, and buy a book.
Aaron?
Going back to our metaphor in regards to the maze and the dungeon and all that stuff, as Michael said, everything's a learning opportunity. You learn how to do something, or you learn something that doesn't work at the moment. It may work in the future. But thinking back on that kind of metaphor, imagine you're teaching your younger brother or sister about a video game, but you don't want to give away the story. So you're giving them tips for the walkthrough. And if we're playing a quest-based game, and say, hey, make sure to pick up the font of endless water, and they go, what the hell is this crap artifact? I don't need this. And until they figure out that, oh, I'm fighting a fire demon 12 levels later, and you can't explain all that context early on, because half of it you got to learn yourself, but the other half of it you can just go, okay, hey, keep an eye on this. This is things that we want to shed. And one of the ones I harp on is we don't want repetitive words, because it creates a staccato in the brain. It goes, why does he keep saying this? And it may only be 2 or 3 times over 300 pages, but that's what keys it into the head. Robert Jordan's, she tugged her braid, or she smoothed her skirt. He doesn't actually say it all that often, but man, do people remember that.
Very good. Okay, I'm going to read Eben's comments here, and then I'm going to give my closing thoughts, and then we'll be out of here. So, Eben had said, remember Sturgeon's Law when you talk about putting out crap. Quoted from Wikipedia. Sturgeon's revelation, as expounded by Theodore Sturgeon, referred to as Sturgeon's Law, is an adage cited as 90% of everything is crap. Sentence derives from quotations by Sturgeon, an American science fiction author and critic, although Sturgeon coined another adage he termed Sturgeon Laws, the 90% crap remark became Sturgeon's Law. So the phrase was derived from Sturgeon's observations, while science fiction was often derided for its low quality by critics, which, by the way, we lost Tempe.
Oh, it knows.
Let me fix that screen one second. Jorp! There's Jorp. I will talk about you in a second, Jorp. Jorp, do me a favor. Type !me! !me! Everybody needs to go follow Jorp. Oh, Tempe's back. Let me switch back to the other screen now.
I have no idea what happened.
You dozed off.
Stuff happened.
So anyhow, yeah, science fiction was really heavily criticized when it first started coming to popularity, as just crap across the board. But anyhow, derided for its low quality by critics, majority of examples of works in other fields could equally be seen to be of low quality, and science fiction was thus no different. In other words, 90% of everything is crap, not just what you got. There you go. Now, my closing thoughts on this topic is, yes, help people. But as somebody who is busy creating, gauge their level. Gauge what information they want or need. And here's what I'm going to tell to anybody who's just starting it out. Failing is valid learning. Okay? That's how we learn. Go fail. It is better to go out and fail than just not do because you're afraid. I have seen so many people who are like, I'm creating the world. I'm creating character backgrounds. I'm creating. You're not writing a book, though. And you're not going to write a book till you write a book. And that's the first piece of advice I give anybody who comes to me for advice is, go write the book. I don't care if it's crap. I don't care if you're horrible with grammar and syntax and spelling. That's what editing is for. Go write a book. And from the other aspect, don't expect a writer to give you their full time and attention when you don't even know them, especially if you're going to fight any advice or information they give you. So anyhow, guys, the person I mentioned last night that I was watching the writing stream and then did the anime was Channel Jorp right there, who is in our chat. He has a sense of humor and a point of view very similar to ours here in the tavern. So make sure you give him a follow. We are out of here. And I am going to do our outro music. Constantly, Jorp. Let's get our outro music. Guys, have a great one. Here's to your faces. Thank you for all your input, advice, and thoughts. Viewers and co-hosts.
Night.
Woohoo!
Thank you for joining author Travis I. Sivart and the other writers, content creators, and all-around amazing people for our discussion here on Right Night. Join us again soon, and until you do, make sure you create with passion, enjoy the journey, and remember, every night can be right night.
Good night, everybody. Hang out 1 second, guys.
For 150 years, Children's National Hospital has provided exceptional care and groundbreaking research. Please donate today to give children and healthcare heroes a reason to believe this holiday season. Visit childrensnational.org/holiday.